Hello and welcome to Qdabra's webinar. My name is Patrick Halston. I'm the project manager here at Qdabra. We started in 2003, and our chief mission in life is to help customers adopt Microsoft technologies. And today I'm thrilled that one of our customers is here to talk about the work we've helped them with. Greylock has been a customer of ours for several years now, and Nicole Foster is one of our key contacts there. She's the one that makes everything work. Nicole, it's great to have you. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get to your demos, let's just talk quickly about, let's switch to that next slide, and we'll just, thanks for sharing your slides too, make it easy for us today. So today we're talking about a bunch of really cool forms. We also have Elena Clemente, who's the chief forms designer. We call her the fabulous forms developer here, and she's also a Filipino, so there's fabulous forms Filipino. Mel, I don't know if you go for that, but that's your nickname today. Sorry about that. But we're talking about how we build forms and build solutions for customers, and really the key thing here is to create a template that we can reuse over and over again, and that way we save time, obviously, and make things consistent and less work, right? Do you want to just talk about how it went?
Sure. We actually started our migration about a year ago. When we started our migration to SharePoint 2019, we're going on-prem. We had very limited knowledge about Forms Viewer in the app. So when we were first migrating our InfoPath forms to Forms Viewer, our knowledge base and our skills was very limited. And so when we say it was easy, it really was. We took a couple courses online and learned a couple of the techniques, but when we first started converting, we would convert these existing forms just into Forms Viewer with not a lot of features. We just were trying to do a one-to-one. But as we continued to learn more skills by attending the Qdabra webinars, the programming became more advanced. We started using more features, and then decided, we were at a point where we wanted to develop a custom template. And this custom template had a lot of our branding, which for Greylock is a high focus. We have to have certain colors, certain logos. Branding was very important. We also put in there a lot of the features that we use consistently, and all of our forms have DBXL programmed in them as well, because most of our solutions are going to be converted to DBXL in the future. We just haven't had the time right now to fully implement the DBXL.
So they're all connecting to the database, right? In the backend, SQL database.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So for the ones that aren't fully converted to DBXL, we do use QueryDB, so we still can connect to our SQL database to receive information into the form. We're just not submitting yet to the DBXL.
Yeah, and DBXL is that web service that I think it was our original flagship tool. We build these accelerators to fill these gaps in Microsoft Story, and Microsoft didn't have a way to submit to the database without writing code. And so DBXL is this web service that lets you submit and query the database without writing code. You're just using the web service methods to query and to submit. That's great. And you're also using that tool on top of it that actually migrates your data into it, right? That Excel to Excel.
Yes, I'm in love with that tool. So Greylock, again, we are highly regulated, so we are audited constantly. So history is super important. So when we were going from 2013 to 2019, we had to maintain all of the history that we had saved. A lot of them were in lists, and our solutions, we're not going to have lists in our new environment. So we created all the XMLs using the migration tool, imported them into DBXL for the ones that we are using DBXL for. The rest of them, we actually use the tool to create the XMLs, and then we just imported those into the new libraries.
So that allowed you
with the new template.
That allowed you to migrate the data that you had before into the new environment. Okay.
Yeah, and using the new template. So we created the XMLs with the new template.
Mhm.
So when we put them in the new library and open the forms with Forms Viewer, the data was the existing data, but in the new template. It was awesome because we could use the new features with the old data.
Awesome. And how many templates do you have? I think you got the next slide maybe is the one that shows, the summary of the forms.
Yeah, so we started with 100, but right now we have about a little more than 50. And the nice thing about Forms Viewer, though, is we were actually able to combine some of the templates that we had that were like multiple lists or multiple locations into one form.
Oh, nice.
Because we were able to submit to multiple lists using one form.
So you consolidated.
Reduced them. Exactly. Yep.
Sweet.
That's why there's a lot less. But we actually have, since our migration, we have had 15 new requests, new solutions come through because I liked the Forms Viewer solution so much, and it was so modern and easy to use and helpful to the end users. They would use a form, go, oh, I really like that. I want to use that for our department. So since we've started this, we have 15.
Can you show us a quick before and after?
Sure. So I will show you, our first one is our suggestion box. This solution was a lot of work. Mel, I love her. Holy moly, did she help me with this solution. It was very cumbersome. Our previous form, set aside here, it was just basically a web page that the users use to search for existing suggestions, and they could either submit a new one or like current ones. And then we had this really poor just edit item form that we use to content management. To
the stock list form, right? That looks like the default.
It was really sad.
You still have it active though, right? It's so you can go. Can you show us the active? Yeah, that might be kind of interesting to see it.
So let me show you the existing. So this is the existing site. This is what the end users would see. They'd come in here and they could search for a keyword and it would tell them if they had an existing suggestion. So they like that. Or they would come in, they can look at the existing forms and they could like it, or they could submit a new suggestion here. And then for us, there's a CrossFit committee that meets once a month. We review these suggestions and implement recommendations or solutions. The purpose of this, maybe I should tell you, the purpose of this is for the people who aren't decision makers. They can enter a suggestion saying, for example, in this one, delays and cancellations. There's people who need to commute to work, and by the time they get notification about a delay or cancellation, it's too late. So this person just suggests maybe send it out earlier. So the CrossFit committee would review the suggestion and make a recommendation or implement.
It's like the user voice, right? It's like the Microsoft.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So the CrossFit committee would come in here and they would edit the item. This is what it looks like.
Oh,
it's super sad.
This is the old one. This is the old, all vertical.
Yeah.
What about the new one? Show us the new one.
Okay, new one. So we have this fancy new icon, which opens up the dashboard so I'm an admin. This is the nice thing about this form too, is there's a different view whether or not you're signing in as an admin versus just an end user, and it's controlled through groups. So I see this task pane here with all these different buttons, but if I was someone who wasn't on the CrossFit committee, they actually see this, which is the end user view. So they can still search for suggestions. They can review suggestions that they put in. I actually had a couple. They could like current suggestions, or down here, they can submit a new one. They can even attach files. So this would get submitted to DBXL. This is a DBXL solution. And then the CrossFit, when we have our meeting, we actually had one yesterday. We come in here and we go through each one of these. In this one, we do have fancy filtering and sorting solutions.
Cool.
So, yep. So if we were to open one of these, so this one's in review. This is an overlay feature where this is the edit item. So instead of that really sad looking edit item form, we have a nice overlay. It tells us what, we use the progress bar here. It tells us what status it's in or what workflow step it's in. We have some show hide things in here so we could see who submitted it in case we have any questions. People can reply. And all of this is supposed to be anonymous. So as a CrossFit committee, we can see, but the end users can't. So if they came in here and they would not see by who. So there's different views as well as dependent on who's logged in.
I like the heart. I like the heart emoji.
The likes.
You can click on it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I could like it. See, I just liked it. So now it's 4. And actually what happens is, so if I replied to the suggestion, maybe I had some information for the person who submitted this. Of course, as the end user, I wouldn't know who did it. So I could reply to the suggestion. It's disabled because it's in reviewed. It only works if it's submitted. So I could type a reply to this person and they would get an alert. So we use the email feature in DBXL. They would get an alert that says, you know, there's a new reply to your suggestion, and they would get the text of whatever the person had written.
Even if they're anonymous?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yep. So like this one, I could see the replies because we're a CrossFit. So these 2 things went to the creator of this suggestion. But yeah, it just because it comes from like our help desk, they'll never see who wrote it.
I like the eye icon.
The show hide.
So that's show hide. Wow, that's cool.
So we also have suggestion advocates. So we actually have quite a few here that are assigned. So I have a view for myself. These were the ones that I was assigned. If you are assigned as a suggestion advocate, you actually get an alert as well that says, you know, you've been assigned as an advocate for this suggestion, and it'll ping that person once a week to follow up on it. Because oftentimes what would happen in the old one is people would be assigned and then they wouldn't do anything until our next meeting in a month. So now we have reminders to be like, hey, keep thinking about this. So that's something that we implemented too.
That's great. Let's. What about the extra features? Anything that, I mean, this is just one of your forms, but I mean, I guess maybe we should talk about the extra stuff that we've added. You want to switch back to that slide?
Let's see, where was I? Oh, and here, yep. So we use branding, CSS, the display as far as if you're a user or an admin, so you get different overlays, or the task pane. We do have the anonymous submission. So like I said, as a CrossFit committee member, you can see it, but the end user will never see any of the replies or likes or who created it. One thing that we do use this suggestion box for is to report to our senior departments that align with our initiatives. So, you know, we have inclusivity, diversity, things like that. So because it submits to a SQL database, we are able to use Power BI and report to the senior departments, like how many things are we working on that's related to, you know, whatever topic.
That's awesome.
We talked about alert notifications, and then the dashboard smart filters. Oh, and then the item details and workflow, that's the stuff up here, like what step it's in.
That's great, and all of this without writing much code at all, right? I think Mel, you're on the call, but we didn't do any real coding just for the CSS, right? Just to make it look pretty, right? Is there any JavaScript behind?
I don't think there's any JavaScript here, just CSS.
No code. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yep.
Sweet.
And it was funny because Mel sent it to me and then I changed it all and I sent it back with this with layout and stuff. It was awesome.
Great. Let's see what's the next slide.
The next one is our
Extra feature. You get the extra features thing. Let's talk about that. Is that worth talking about? The
for
one more.
Oh, the stuff.
There. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Validation we do in every form, so we use that command when we have a form that has required field. Dashboard with smart filters has been very useful, especially because we do a lot of reporting. We do overlays often, as you can see. We like to use overlays for information, so if we don't clutter up the form, especially with information that people are used to seeing, so they can click like a little button and it'll pop up with information, additional information, or we use it for actions. We like the progress bar to show information, but we also use the progress bar where you can click the button and actually advances it into another state or status.
It's kind of like a hidden feature that people, is it hard for them to discover that they can click on it?
Well, we disable it for the end user. It's just admins that would have the ability to click the button. So again, yeah, it goes back to, knowing whether they're end user or an admin. We use a lot of the flex features. So we have slide out buttons on some of our forms. We have slide out panels on some of our forms. And then the last one is very important for us as an institution because we, again, are audited constantly. So we tend to have all our forms render as a PDF and archived into a SharePoint library because auditors will come in and they will request proof of something, and as a PDF we're able to share them a lot easier, plus they're in a static state which they like, so we use that constantly as well.
You're a bank. I mean, you can't go back and change the register, right? You have to keep things.
Yeah, they're and they'll check. So everything's got to be time stamped.
Nice.
So yeah, PDF, the render PDF and archive is.
And then there's all these new forms coming that we've migrated to that have helped you with the migration on. And I guess Mel, this might be a good time to jump to you and show the central flow stuff that you're. I mean, I know Nicole, you're deploying this any day now, but maybe we should switch to show that form too, because that's where we're going, right? In terms of the future, the central flow stuff. Let's see. So the central flow. I mean, how many of your forms use the new central flow stuff? Nicole?
We have 2, I think, right now.
Mel, do you want to talk about the form?
This is the Central Flows dashboard. We updated it to show their branding, so their colors, the theme, logos, and then everything. So when they open it, as soon as they deploy all the forms, it's not only 2, there's actually about 16, if I'm not mistaken, 16 templates that we Central Flow enabled for you. So right now I can see there's a check request and the interview assessment. So these are what's assigned to me. I can expand this by row and see see the forms that are assigned to me and look at the history, what happened, who saved it, if there are any comments, and I can go to that form. So let's just open this one here. This is the interview assessment from your plain Jane. I actually don't have a before template here, but this one here we upgraded to use Central Flows. Trying to open here.
So the dashboard is kind of like this general central hub where they go, as opposed to SharePoint lists, where they can see kind of everything that's assigned to them, right? They don't have to worry about trying to find what's assigned to them, they can just open that form, right? That's the dashboard form.
Yeah, exactly. The moment they open the dashboard, they could already see what's assigned to them. They can also look at what they submitted under My Forms. And then, of course, there's Show All, where if I'm a global admin, which I am, I can see everything, like all the other forms or templates out there, even though, even though I'm not an admin specifically to that. And there are also some filters here, the smart filters that Nicole was showing before. So I can sort and filter by those columns. And we'll look at the,
click on the link, it opens the form. Awesome.
yeah, it will open the form as well. So here we have one form that I've opened. So I can display, hide, and show the task pane here. And just crunch out the content in the middle here using Flex. And yeah, it's got their colors and very much user-friendly now and uncluttered look and feel, right? So as far as usability, there's already a signature. It's already signed by me. I'm detecting that I'm the one logged in here. So this task pane over here is what controls the workflow. The buttons available are what the user can click at this specific state. So right now it's saved, so I can resave or just submit. It gets assigned to my manager. And it's controlled, the workflow steps are controlled by clicking on that leader icon up on the right to see the config form, which shows all of the steps here. That is easy to configure.
Nicole, have you seen this?
Yes, I have. I just haven't implemented it.
Yeah. Yep. What do you think of the value proposition? Do you think that this is going to be something that is not going to confuse people, right? Because they've got two different ways of going to forms. But how do you think you're going to integrate this to make it so that it's easy for them to adopt? Your users, or is it? I guess maybe the question is, should we take your other forms that don't have central flow and convert them also to make it easier to?
Eventually, yeah. So the goal is for things that don't have DBXL, instead of using SharePoint Designer workflows, everything will be converted. We're trying to do everything kind of like version 1, version 2. So everything will be central flows in the future.
Well, hey, this is great to have you on the call today, and I want to keep this to the 25 minutes or so that we've scheduled. But I just want, in closing, I want to kind of do a shout out to one of your colleagues there, Jeremy Moore, who's been also a key member of the of this effort, right? And Mel, you get this cool demo that you want to show for Jeremy. That's this new stuff. We have new technology coming all the time, and Mel is the chief innovator here in terms of forms. Mel, do you want to show this new form that you created last week that has this cool dark mode on it?
Absolutely. So here it is. So it's like a dashboard layout here. When I load the form, it shows me this left pane navigation over here. I can hover over to see the tabs available. The layout is sort of using a card-like layout. There's top section here and all that kind of stuff that are cool. I can toggle this task pane to hide and show the good stuff and whatnot. I can still switch tabs here, and the layout just flows through this navigation bar over here. And let's see, so toggle back, it's responsive. So for users that have a very narrow screen, or viewing it in their tablet, they get this responsive layout over here. So the best thing, I guess, the highlight of this one is the dark mode. So if I toggle here on the upper right corner, it switches to dark mode like so. So for users that are, not good with bright screens, they can opt to toggle.
How hard was it to do that? I'm just like, was it just a CSS switch or?
It is CSS and JavaScript that you don't have to write because we provide this custom curl command that is toggle class. It's toggling the class from dark to just a regular one. So when we switch to dark, it adds this class into the HTML tags, right? With the div tags that just calls the dark properties that I have in CSS.
That's awesome, Mel. Thanks for that quick demo. And thanks again, Nicole, for your wonderful time today and sharing the solution with our customers. We look forward to serving you in the future, and hope that if you have any issues whatsoever, please don't hesitate to ask us. Thanks again. Any closing thoughts for us? How could we have done anything we could have done differently or better to improve the adoption?
I don't have any complaints, to be honest. Every time I had a question or a need, the response was super quick, and people were always willing to have a meeting and help us through it. So nothing I can think of, no. Everything was great.
That's great to hear. So just in closing, I guess any questions for Nicole from I know we don't have a huge number of people here today, but thank you for being here. And thanks, Brian, for that comment. Brian is thanking you, everyone at Greylock, for sharing the solution. And then I guess, let's see, Brian's saying, my manager is trying to steer me to Power Automate, and I haven't researched enough to dispute the idea yet. I love what I'm seeing here today. Thanks again. That's a wonderful comment. And the Power Platform is a wonderful tool in SharePoint. I mean, SharePoint Online, I think SharePoint On-Prem. And we probably should have said that you're On-Prem, right, Nicole? You don't have an online solution.
No, we're going to online next year.
Mm-hmm. So for online, there's this Power Platform that Microsoft provides, and it has Power Apps and Power Automate and Power BI, and you're using Power BI, but that works on-prem. But the Power Automate is like the workflow replacement for SharePoint Designer, and Central Flow is kind of like our version of, okay, if you've got SharePoint Designer today, you can move to Central Flow, and it supports Steve Excel with notifications or SharePoint with Power Automate. So under the covers, Central Flow is actually a Power Automate workflow or two, actually, that runs if you're in the SharePoint version. And Power Apps are great too, but Power Apps don't give you the CSS styling and the JavaScript and the stuff that makes this stuff really easy to look good. Thanks again, Nicole, and thanks everyone else for being here. And we look forward to having you here next week. We have a training at the end of this month. In fact, our class is full, but if you are interested, please go to our website, education. Just type in Qdabra education, and you'll find the place to register for the training. And we're in 2 weeks from yesterday, we're actually going to start the training class, and it's just 4 days, 2 hours a day. And we'll be going over some of these new techniques. And I don't know if we'll have the dark mode in, Mel. You're just innovating so quickly that we can't actually keep up with you. Anyway, thanks everyone for being here. We'll see you again next week, hopefully. Thanks again, Nicole. Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Nicole.